you have. Do you know anything about it?
No,
You
I
don't?
don't know that much, but I have heard about it.
So they're YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I put together a list so that if anyone here would like an email, I've given you 3 options of receiving an email from me. So one are some wellness videos on YouTube that I think are very impactful, and I think they would be shocking to many people, and they're easy to implement some of the things, gems of wisdom and health that they offer. So that's one X you could put on the sign-in thing that'll pass around a second. Another is I offer a thing called Yoga P, which means yoga postures, but today I said it also means yoga park, because that's where I am. I'm in the park or outdoors somewhere. So on Saturday mornings when I'm in town, I offer a thing called Yoga P, which is a lot of this stuff on a yoga mat, but that's much easier, I would say, than your average yoga class. And everyone goes at their own pace. It's very low-key, no intensity whatsoever. But it stabilizes all of your hips, some knee activity, lower back, neck, and you'll get stretched as well. So it's very helpful. So you could put an X if you're interested in being on the invite list for that. I only send it out once in a while. And then another thing I did, like Hesu put this group together, I put a group together starting 4 years ago. Anyone know what TED Talks is, TEDx? So I call this group, or I liken it to TED Talks on Viagra, because it lasts longer than TED Talks. TED Talks is typically 18 minutes. This one's more of a discussion format, so that the audience, you, are as important as the speaker. And so that makes this dynamic energy, and it's lovely. And so I've been doing it for 4 years, and we've had 8 speakers, 9 speakers per year for 4 years. That's a lot of speakers, and blessed are we haven't had a dud yet. So the energy's always been good. So I'm very fortunate that that is available. And if you'd like to be on that email list, authors come in and speak, an artist, a sculptor, a doctor, it's an open forum type of discussion, and you can, not have to come if you don't want to hear that speaker, or you can come if you do want to. So if you want to participate in any of these things, so the CPF is Community Planet Forum, it's like TEDx, and then there's Yoga P, and then there's one-time only email from me with these wellness links. And so if you'd like, I'll pass that around, and you can let me know what your email is and what you'd like to receive. So does anyone have any questions before I show a few exercises? Any particular?
Do you have Yoga P on YouTube, or?
I have all of the exercises I shouldn't say all, there's endless exercises, but I have 50 plus where I'm showing you in 3 to 5 seconds what some of these exercises are. And they draw from yoga, they draw from functional training. Functional training, as you can imagine, you remember the big round ball called the physio ball that people have been using for various positions? That came about in the modern era. We don't know what they were doing in Egypt because the balls are all long gone, but they were probably doing something similar for their own health. Any long-lived society had to do something to preserve all of their stability in their bone and their anatomy. You can't just do heavy work and expect things to work. You have to do certain things the right way to stabilize yourself. The Homo sapien is really good at some things and really weak in others. We are really weak at lifting things out of position. I mean, just look at how vulnerable I look right there. It's just not good. And so we break down quickly if we're doing over and over repetitive exercises like that, or lifting over and over. I mean, because to lift, you have to do it perfectly every time. As soon as you don't do it perfectly, you could be a 280-pound, really strong person, you're out of commission. When your nerve fires and it tells the brain you're in pain, you go down. And so human being is really good. I would say the best thing we're good at that's physical is running. And there's a book called Born to Run that talks about this. It was written in 2009. And you can look that up. It's amazing. But the human body is really good at absorbing. So we've got all these curves that the chiropractors will show you on the skeleton. And it's good at absorbing. We can even take a little bit of a blow to the head, and we can carry things with that power on our heads. But if you look at me run, look at all the absorbing that the human body can do on 2 legs. How many animals can do something like that on 2 legs? The dogs and the antelope, they all have 4. But the human being can do that on 2 legs. So it's a small miracle. But the downside to the human's ability to do all that stuff is we're really bad at sitting in chairs. we're really not that good at lifting things, especially over and over. We're rotten climbers. The monkeys can outdo us. You know, the ancient first upright walking things that weren't apes, they had extra little grabby things on their feet so they could climb reasonably well. We're really not very good at climbing. You know, gymnasts are amazing because they can do amazing things. But think of a gymnast 30 years out of being a gymnast. So let's take a 20-year-old in the Olympics, add 30 years, they're now 50. How many of them can still do a cartwheel? And I've asked them, and not many of them are still doing it. How many boxers, when they're 50, can still jump rope? I've seen the three people that were around with Muhammad Ali on a TV show trying to jump rope, and they weren't good at it anymore. So all these skills that you had back when you were 20, it's hard to maintain them. But monkeys can maintain climbing until the day that they die, unless they're disabled or maimed. So it's an amazing thing. So we're really good at running. And why are we good at running? That's the last thing I'll say, and we'll do some exercise. Why are we so good at running? There's a thing called persistence hunting. Has anyone heard of persistence hunting? So what that means is that at 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when you're out on the steppes of Africa, those plains where in the camera you see all the heat waves coming off the ground, so that's when these hunters would go out and hunt antelope without an arrow. You know, bow and arrow didn't exist at the time. And so even if they don't have one today, they can still go out and persistent hunt. So what you do is you take 5 people, whoever's good at long distance running in that tribe, and it could be women, could be kids, whoever's good at it, and you say, it's 10 o'clock, we humans, we Homo sapiens, can do 2 things that the animals can't do when they're running. We can cool off because we can sweat, and we can pant while we're running, and we do it exceptionally well. That's how these people do these desert runs that are 100 miles. And they do it at like an 8-minute pace. Can you imagine that? I mean, an 8-minute pace is what, you know, if you went to the high school gym class, you took non-track stars, but somebody who was in reasonably good shape, and they went out for a 5-mile run. 8-mile pace is what they're doing. These people can do that for 100 miles in 110-degree heat. So that's Homo sapiens today in 2015. So we can cool off and pant, and so that poor antelope, that's our dinner, right? So, you know, that's the way it goes. And we're dinner for the bear, so it's just all part of nature. So we have one person go, and that antelope takes off. And it knows it can beat us, but it doesn't know that it can't beat us over the course of the next 3 hours. So it's just going to run and use some energy and get hot. And then the next person's going to go, and they're going to run. And I'm watching the next person. Now it's my turn. Now I go. And then Hesu goes, and then Alem goes. And we all run. And somewhere in that heat cycle, and depending on when that animal had water, food, how old it is, how fit it is, if it has any bacteria, all those things, at some point, if we do the right job, and that's called persistence hunting, that animal is going to keel over, and it's just going to, it's on YouTube video. I don't mean to be too graphic for people, but this is the law of the jungle and the call of the wild. Just like in jiu-jitsu, we surrender. When the person has us on arm lock, we give up. It's called surrendering, submitting. This animal just looks up and gives up, and it knows that's all it can do, and then that's dinner for the tribe. And if there are lions around, they may cut that thing up and leave some for the lions, and then run back, or have spears and, you know, fend off lions on the run back. So they have to get that dead body back to their fire before they can eat it. So that's an amazing thing. I learned that, and that's the Homo sapien doing its running. So I think it's a small miracle, and that knowledge was only marketed in terms of books in a major publication way with you know, marketing, etc., only about 4 years ago. So I'm interested in that subject. I didn't know about it until 4 years ago. So I thought that was fascinating, that I've never learned that in any of my courses in history, science, and biology, etc.